Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. 8:28 a.m. Central African time or South African time. We cross over to Pakistan and we are now joined by Arshad Yusufzai. He's a journalist based in that part of the world. And obviously, we are going to be looking at an issue regarding Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan. He has criticized Islamabad-based Western envoys who last week sought to pressure Pakistan to condemn Russia's actions in the Ukraine, asking them, and I quote, if they thought Pakistan was their slave. Assalamu alaikum to you, brother Arshad Yusufzai. Welcome to the program. And quite a bold stance by your Prime Minister regarding the support of Pakistan, of Putin's, obviously his country, of Russia's stance on this war on the Ukraine.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you for having me on your program. Yes, it is a very strict and straightforward stance by Imran Khan, and this has come after a long time actually. One of the main reasons behind this clear-cut answer to the EU, the 22 members that had written actually a letter to Imran Khan asking him to be on the Western side instead of joining the Russian camp. But Pakistan had clearly said before the voting, the UNSC voting, that Pakistan will stay neutral, which the Western allies didn't like because, historically, since the Cold War, or even before that, Pakistan has always been in the Western camp instead of joining the regional blocs or the regional forces or staying neutral. But I believe Pakistan had enough because, the Western allies, NATO, and everybody else have used Pakistan most of the times. They have not fulfilled their promises that they made with Pakistan, including in recent times that, what happened in Afghanistan, the way NATO forces, the US forces left Afghanistan without even, giving any consideration to Pakistan, and then depending on evacuation, all the process through Pakistan as well, but then not rewarding Pakistan. So that was one of the other catalysts that, that forced Imran Khan into going to this statement. Another issue was with, whatever is happening with the FATF and IMF, of course.
Okay, I've come across a very interesting clip here and I'm forwarding on to my producer. As you can see, I'm busy with my phone right now, but it is really very interesting. It seems that in a press conference, Imran Khan obviously has made some statements about why he actually is also supporting Putin's government. He believes that Putin has been misunderstood and also believes that Putin and Russia are very pro-Islam. According to this clip, and we'll see if Nasreen, my producer, is able to play it out. It's a 2-minute clip and I'd love you to watch it as well and then give us your comments right after. He goes back a bit in history and he talks about those cartoons that mocked our beloved Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the entire anti-Islamic sentiment in the West. And he says in his talks with Putin was very pro-Islam. He's also suggested that Putin has allowed very many mosques and religious Islamic centers to be opened in Russia over the past few years. I'm not sure if I have got the evidence to back that up, but let's take Imran Khan's word for it. But we'll try and see if Nasreen is able to play out that clip, not only for the benefit of you and I for this discussion, but for our viewers this morning. Having said that, let's also look at the issue around this very bold statement by Imran Khan. How is that going to possibly impact negatively regarding his relationships with America and the West in general?
Yes, so of course, when we talk about the stance that Pakistan has taken, that is staying neutral, not clearly going to the Russian camp or the regional bloc that is China, Russia, and Pakistan, possibly in future Central Asian republics and Iran. We'll just talk about how Pakistan is playing right now. Pakistan is trying to stay neutral, and what is going to happen, in the recent, in the coming future, in the near future. I fear that IMF will come back strongly at Pakistan because the conditions are very tough for the loan that they have been given to Pakistan. And even before this statement, a week before this, Imran Khan, in his speech to the nation, had to reduce oil prices against the wishes of IMF, and then he also reduced a few more commodities, the prices of more commodities, that was also against the wishes and the agreement with the IMF. So that had already angered them. Now this statement to the EU nations, that they're not joining the Western camp, it's again something that is going to bring us difficulties. And we have already seen how FATF has still kept Pakistan in the grey list. Almost, there were fears that they are going to probably put Pakistan on the blacklist, in terror financing and all these issues that have been around for many years now. But I think that these things are going to happen. Pakistan will definitely be experiencing hardships in terms of these pressurizing tactics like IMF and FATF. But also, if it continues like this, and if the war in Ukraine prolongs, I fear that Pakistan will also face a few problems compare in sanctions that the West is trying to impose on Russia, or probably whoever supports the Russian cause.
Okay, that brings us back to the issue between this long ongoing feud between Pakistan and India over the Kashmiri situation. And obviously, in this same statement, Imran Khan lashes out to the Western governments, asking them why they have allowed that issue to still carry on. Why was uh, there was no support for Pakistan on that issue? He also asks the question, why have the Western governments not put pressure on India on that matter, the Kashmiri issue? And then the other issue that we need to ask is about the current anti-Muslim sentiment by the BJP government in India. Uh, Obviously, Imran Khan's raised that, but in another discussion, not in the discussion that I'm alluding to here. How do you see all of this playing out, and what is the relationship like between India and Pakistan? Number one, on the Kashmiri issue, and number two, on the current issue playing out in India against the Muslim minorities.
Yes. Obviously, Kashmir is a hot issue. It has remained there for years, and Pakistan and India have fought two major wars, and then other skirmishes, some escalating to almost a war-like situation in the past 73 years, 74 years. The problem is that it is an issue on the UN charter. It is there. The UN had taken notice of it way back in the 1949 and something like that. But no one is taking interest there, knowing that Pakistan and India are two nuclear states, knowing that they have fought over the issue for at least three times, if we include Kargil War of 1999. And then what happened a year back, when BJP's government slashed all the rights of the Kashmiri people, putting millions inside a prison, I would say, the West has completely kept their silence. Pakistan tried, on different levels to raise awareness that, to convince the Western powers who can influence India, not pressurize, but influence India in their decision making, at least to make things, to ease up the situation in Kashmir, Indian held Kashmir. But nothing happened there. I would say that the Western countries completely put it in the back drawer somewhere, forgetting about Kashmir as if it does not exist. Then came the issue of Afghanistan. It was forgotten again, despite the fact that Pakistan fully and committedly helped the Western nations. No one, considered this as an issue, and that's why Imran Khan found it a right opportunity to speak about that issue. If it's involving Pakistan, that is one thing, because Pakistan has believed, and it has the right to believe, that Kashmir, being a Muslim majority state, belongs to Pakistan. Apart from that, there are humans living there, Muslims, Hindus, everybody else, and they are all inside a prison, inside a camp, I would say, guarded by hundreds of thousands of forces. They have restricted freedom, they have little facilities in their lives. So it was the right opportunity that Imran Khan highlighted this issue, and that it sort of he gave a realization to the Western nations that when you guys talk about human rights, when you talk about all these issues faced by your Western companions in Ukraine, these are also people suffering. And there is this strong indication. It's one of the good qualities of Imran Khan, that he is close to religion, and he always tried to bring this issue up. If it is anything happening to Muslims anywhere in the world, he is there to support the cause. So it was the right opportunity that Imran Khan used. When we talk about what is happening to Muslims in India, unfortunately, it is going out of proportion, and I fear that in the next few years, this is going to be way worse than we are seeing now. Muslims are living under fear. This is a minority which is more than the whole population of Pakistan, in the 22 to 220 millions plus. These people are living under very difficult situations now. We have been hearing about girls not allowed to do hijab or to cover their faces in schools and colleges. People cannot, in many places, they are not supposed to eat cow meat, and whatever is permissible in Islam, if it is not permissible in Hinduism, they are forced there. They cannot practice their religion easily. In some places, I've heard that even calling for adhan, calling for prayers, is not allowed. All these issues are increasing, and I fear that in the absence of a strong opposition, that was the Congress, which seems to be divided, which seems to be not in a position to change, to bring any change in the near future. I fear that this BJP senatism is going to increase, that they are going to further escalate these things in order to achieve what they have been thinking, or dreaming of for the past 3-4 decades, that it's a Hindu majority state. We do not follow secularism. It should be Hindutva, and that whatever Hinduism teaches us should be practiced and followed there.
Okay, let's get back to the current, the matter at hand, and that obviously is the issue of Imran Khan supporting the Russians. Just quoting him from this article, he goes on to say, "We are friends with Russia, and we are also friends with America, and we are friends with China and with Europe. We are not in any one camp." He goes on to say, Pakistan would remain neutral and work with those trying to end the war in the Ukraine. But you have indicated that there is going to be pressure on Imran Khan and Pakistan by the IMF. Do you think he will succumb to the pressure? And also, what's the feeling and the sentiments of the people on the ground, civil society, regarding Imran Khan, his stance on the war, on the Ukraine, and just general foreign policy issues?
Yes, I believe that the stance that Imran Khan has showed is going to stay, despite the fact that we are going to see increased pressure from the West. And it was important and necessary that he made it clear that we are neutral, we are friends with everyone, we are not enemies to any state or any bloc. So that was important. The problem, however, is that it is not accepted in, I would say, very unfortunately, in not the Western society. Their clear stance is the American centric stance that says that you are either with us or against us. So if you're not my friend, you are my enemy. That's what they believe, unfortunately. And whoever is not on your side is seen as an enemy. Same goes for Pakistan. If Pakistan tries to stay neutral, which it wants to stay to practice, it will not be allowed. For the time being, the government is gaining from this stance of Imran Khan and our foreign minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi, because it has got more support of the common people, because people are praising Imran Khan's stance, that someone has dared talking to the West in a manner that they should have been told ages ago, that someone is, keeping Pakistan's priorities and Pakistan's politics on top, other than the Western influenced policies that we have always sort of accepted without any discussion or without any objections. So I think that is for common people. When we talk about civil societies, when we talk about the opposition parties, it's a different game then, because these people, especially the secular Pakistan People's Party, and it's uh, strangely, but the religious party that is in support, in coalition with it, Jamiat Ulama Islam, they have been targeting Imran Khan very harshly and hardly for this stance, saying or believing that this is going to put Pakistan to, it will just simply leave Pakistan out of both camps, and Pakistan will be feeling alone, and that it cannot sustain the pressure, it cannot, work under the pressure, increased pressure, financial restrictions from the West. So these political parties that are against Imran Khan, and as you probably know, that they are marching in Islamabad right now against the government, they are using it as, as something that they can gain from, probably believing that whoever supports the Western cause gets the Western support in Pakistan, in political processes, in elections and other things. So I believe that Imran Khan will stay like this unless it is unless there's a point where the government and our security forces, who are also part of the decision making process, believe that this is a time now that we also have to show leniency to the West. But I think it's going to stay like this.
And that's where we have to leave it. By the way, regarding the video clip that I had suggested we might play out, I've just been told by my producer that we haven't got permission. We needed to get permission to play it out. So unfortunately, we can't view it. But I hope to talk to you again another time. Wonderful, giving us an insight into this particular situation and also politics on the ground in Pakistan. Arshad Yusufzai, a journalist based in Pakistan, shukran very much for your time and your insights on Pakistani politics. Assalamu alaikum to you.
Walaikum assalam. Thank you.
It is 8:45 exactly, news and views on Salam Media. When we get back, inshallah, we'll be talking with Dion Calthorpe. He's the managing executive at Willerton Group. And we are going to be talking about the issue around oil prices, and more importantly, cooking oil in the home. How is this all impacting on us? Ramadan is around the corner, and undoubtedly we all do up our usage of cooking oil. I hope that this doesn't suggest that you need to go out and panic buy. Stand by. We'll be having that interview in a